Education series sponsored by Hotchkiss Insurance. My name's Colby Duke, and I'm an agent with Hotchkiss Insurance. We've been an education sponsor for TAB and Sunbelt for many years, and though we look forward to the return of face-to-face events, for now, be on the lookout for these Zoom at Noon seminars each month until the end of the year. Our goal is to offer an opportunity for you to gain new strategies and stay on top of the latest ideas within our industry as you continue to adapt to our new circumstances. If we can assist you with any of your insurance needs, including general liability, builder's risk, work comp, employee benefits, equipment, and/or surety bonds, call us. We are here to help support the success of your business. Our two speakers today are Todd Eidson, who is the owner and president of Sierra Homes, a custom home building company and remodeling company in Fredericksburg. He's worked in the construction industry for over 35 years. I know he doesn't look it, but he started when he was 2. So keep that in mind as you look through there. And Richard Laughlin, who's the owner and president of Laughlin Homes Restoration, Inc. He's a third-generation builder from Fredericksburg, Texas. Richard won state in carpentry skills at the age of 15 and graduated from Fredericksburg Vocational School in 1978 when I was 7 years old, Richard. So anyway, over the next hour, you will hear from these two experts about concept to final punch, learn how to engage your ISD and partner with your high school to train the next generation of builders. They will guide you through their grassroots self-funded program that designs, builds, and auctions a fully finished custom home every school year. You'll leave with a clear path to creating and strengthening your own high school building trades program and giving students a real world experience. And one last note before I hand it over to these guys, that they're gentlemen, so they won't say this about themselves, but their passion for this program, Casa Uber Alice, is the driving force behind it and the reason it is so successful. So with no further ado, Todd, Richard, take it away.
In 2008, the housing market crash led to the Great Recession, where many skilled laborers left blue-collar work for opportunities in other job sectors. As the economy began to recover, some of these skilled workers returned, while many did not. This added to the large number of positions open to the next generation of builders and compounded the impact of our progressively high-tech world on skilled trades. Over the last 40 years, society has increasingly devalued skilled building trades as a potential career path. Learning a skilled trade has a negative view among young people due to the perception of low pay, little respect, and the possibility of a required apprenticeship. On top of that, many students are led to believe that after graduating high school, attending college is their only viable option. While there are some existing high school building trades programs, they tend to focus around minor projects that make it difficult for students to connect their education to real-world opportunities. And with little to no community involvement, there is no natural bridge between the classroom and job placement. What can be done to negate this downturn? How can we alleviate this employment crisis and ensure tomorrow's craftsmen are ready to join the workforce? The grassroots community-filled building trades program was designed to tackle these exact issues. The flagship building trades program began at the Fredericksburg High School in Central Texas under the name Casa Uber Alice, with the help of Richard Laughlin and other local building professionals. The Building Trades program is a grassroots, community-fueled learning experience filled with businesses and community members investing in the students' careers instead of pushing them to college for an expensive degree that they may not use. In addition to insights gained in many skilled trades, students are mentored by entrepreneurs and business owners to learn valuable management skills. The Building Trades program gives students a sense of pride in completing a major project with their own hands and is a starting point down the path of a fulfilling and lucrative career.
I was on the board of the local division of the Hill Country Builders Association, and we as a group decided that we wanted to bring the trades back to the high school.
A community of builders, the school faculty, and students work together throughout the duration of a school year
Casa Uberalis is a joint venture between the community and the school district to try and really meet some of the needs of our students. It's an opportunity for students to gain hands-on experience within the industry of construction instead of just something that they would get out of a textbook.
It's such a great program to help us for our future, especially in a rural market. You just can't get that out of a video or a book.
We have a shortage of qualified, skilled construction workers.
After the group that's out, the generation that's out right now, these plumbers, these electricians, people that aren't stepping up, they need to be training for the future. We can't just take care of what we're doing right now. We have to look forward.
You take this high school kid and put him in an environment where they can be successful, it's going to pay huge dividends down the road.
We're educating these kids to be better employees.
We have a bunch of builders that come up here and help out, and everybody has the opportunity to go work for them.
When our students graduate from Fredericksburg High School, I want to make sure that they have the skills necessary to pursue the career of their dreams.
There's a lot of kids that don't do super well in a traditional classroom setting, and so this really gives them it's an alternate approach to learning. You're still learning, but it's a very different style, and I think that's beneficial.
It's almost like an apprenticeship program. This is a real house. Everything we do has to be up to code, the whole 9 yards. If we were in a business, if I was running a job for a customer, this house would be built the exact same way.
I would love for students to get gainful employment, get a skill and get a good high-paying job that's in high demand. But to me, it's even more than that. I want them to understand and cherish some of these careers that are available that they might not be able to read about or see on a regular basis.
Right now I'm on a job site where we're demolishing stuff, we're putting up more walls, doing a lot of framing and all that kind of stuff. Honestly, taking this class, it helps a lot. I'm trying to take a hold of what a good opportunity this is.
They're learning how to interact with the various vendors. They're learning how to be managed. Sometimes some of the best teams, you can have the best players, but if they don't understand how to be managed, you don't have a successful team. Well, these guys are learning that as the different builders come on different days, everyone has different expectations, and these students have to learn how to meet those expectations for this to be a successful program.
The kids get so much information from so many different trades that when they get out, and if they want to be in construction, they kind of have a sense of what they like.
This is a real job site. I focus heavily on employability skills.
I got with Mr. Habe, the teacher, and I asked him, I'm looking for a summer job, and if he could help me out. And he brought a couple different contractors in to see if they needed help or anything, and one of Chris Kaiser's workers came in and was like, yeah, we've got a spot at our cabinet shop, and I didn't know anything about cabinets, and so I went in there on my first day. Doing the finished work on the house allowed me to kind of have an idea of it's the finished product. There's no really covering it up. You have to be careful, and if you do mess it up, you have to be able to fix it, because that's what the customer is going to be looking at all the time.
I have some employees that come from the building side of the business. What better can they be for my customers? Because they can talk the language. They can understand what every little part has to play in the building of that home. So trained and experienced, and knowing the training that these students are getting, I would welcome it.
With all of the housing build boom and remodeling boom, there are so many tradesmen that need people working with them, and there's a lack of that.
There are a lot of people in the building industry that started out in a program like this in a trade school that are living the dream.
When they're able to go and say, hey, I can have a good career, I can spend time with my family through what I'm learning in this project. I don't necessarily have to go off and spend thousands of dollars on an educational investment when the local builders have invested in me right now.
They literally can walk away from this, put a tool belt on, and probably go step on a work crew the day after they graduate, and they will not be lost.
We need to be able to educate our students so they can come out of school and be able to be productive members of society right away without necessarily having to have a 4-year college degree, which costs obviously a lot of money.
A four-year college degree doesn't fit every student, and we want to build skills from the ground level up.
There are lucrative careers in manual trades, and that's been one of the things that we've wanted to rekindle that desire in students, to let them know that universities are great for certain careers, but there are just as many equitable careers where a university degree isn't required. The more we're able to expose the students to all of those different possibilities, the more informed the decision they'll be able to make as they move forward in the future. Casa Uberalis was able to figure out a way to more efficiently sell the product so that the program becomes self-sustaining without having to charge the school district for that. The money and the budgeting hasn't been part of the school. The equipment and the materials has been donated, and so we're not having, again, to keep all that red tape and track all of that.
Once you can kind of get it developed and get something working, then it builds on itself.
The builders are able to then have the auction as another fundraiser for the program, and they're able to use their network of people that they've worked with in the past who are able to come in and really do an amazing job. I know that the first year I was a little nervous about how the auction would go, but each year it's been amazing just to watch the community come out after hours and celebrate all the work that the builders and the students have done.
We're working our way into 4 more schools next year. I've had calls from a couple over in Georgia heard about us. They came over, spent a week with us. They're trying to get this program going on in Georgia. Just had a teacher from San Diego call me.
The model that we have started here in Fredericksburg High School, Casa Uberalis, is basically self-funded. And as they build that first home, and then they sell that first home, that money goes right back in the program.
Several times a year we hold skeet shoots and bowling tournaments, and that provides us the seed money each year to start a house.
We rely heavily on the community, from other businesses to step up and help us.
We have some phenomenal people that are directly involved. And I mean, they are hands-on, they are engaged. I mean, they show up and they bring people with them to work with the kids, to making sure that the model home that they're developing is of high quality. And so I think the kids get to see what that looks like, and then they get to actually work with and are taught by not only a great building trades teacher, but then also with people that are in the industry that are really passionate and are really highly skilled.
The people that have been brought this program to the school and many other schools in the areas have been on the circuit of the Builders Association. They've been on the builder shows. They've been to the trade shows. Vendors are now really jumping at line to be involved because they do see the importance for our industry.
It needs to have that support and that build-up and that drive.
A great percentage of the building materials are donated, from the wood to windows to electronics to appliances, countertops. All the builders are really good about asking their suppliers for things. That way the school is not out, it allows them to keep going to do the next one.
It's just the matter of the relationship that you have with your vendors. It's so easy to explain to them what it does for our industry that there's very, very few that don't want to be involved. Typically, it's just a phone call. And then mentioning the program, it's spreading out throughout the area so strong. And we've all known that we've had a very big need to have more skilled labor, more trade labor.
First couple of years, there was 7 or 8 of us. Now we have national companies like Woodtone and Marvin. Sierra Pacific Windows has come in, this year.
I probably spend more time on this project than I do any other nonprofit or volunteer work. But it's important enough to me to grow our industry and to teach these kids skills and be mentors to them that it's going to pay off in the future.
We dedicate lots of hours each week to that program.
This program wouldn't operate if it wasn't not only for just us builders who are here on a daily basis, but our suppliers as well.
Even if you don't exactly want to pursue a career in anything like carpentry, plumbing, anything like that, it's just a good skill to have just for something like in the future when you have a house and something isn't working. You have that now, and you could fix it on your own without having to go pay someone to do it.
90% or maybe 95% of people really want to be successful, and if you give them the proper tools and training, most of the time they are successful.
I would like the students to leave here with a sense of pride about the building industry.
Most kids who come into this have a little bit of understanding, but they really don't understand how this is put together. They can actually start and finish a project in a year.
They truly develop that value and that appreciation for the building trades.
I thought it was a lot simpler, and then once I took this class, I realized that it's hard. There's a lot of things you have to think about.
It was way harder than I was expecting. There was a point in time where I kind of looked down on people who worked with their hands, which I 100% do not anymore. It really made me appreciate all of the knowledge that you have to have in order to be able to build a house. There's so many little things that I never thought about on a house, like how to put Tyvek on and how to cut holes in your siding so to put your electrical sockets in and all that little stuff that I never would have thought about.
As I think about, again, what student fits for this, to me, I like to just find someone that cares about learning these skills and someone that wants to make themselves better through learning how to create something.
Teamwork is a big thing. You get a rhythm, like some people are on a saw, and then the other people, you tell them the dimensions that they need, and then you cut it, and then you just give them the board and they nail it in together, and you get things moving a lot faster like that.
Sometimes working as a team can be really hard if you don't get along with people, but we made it work.
You gotta work at a good pace. You can't just move slow and eventually get the job done. It's gotta be done on time and be done right and well.
If I see something that I don't believe is safe, I make that call. Sometimes I won't let them do certain things. Being at a high school, I'm going to err always on the side of caution because I don't want to make that phone call to a parent saying, hey, little Johnny is going to have to be picked up from the ER today. That's my first responsibility, and I take that one very seriously.
There are certain requirements for us to be able to give a credit to a student. We have to say that they've met certain standards before that credit can be awarded, and sometimes what everyone thinks in Austin doesn't necessarily translate to what is needed by the builders here. And so there are some areas that we have to try and work with the instructor to supplement so that we can award that credit. And then there's areas that we get to add on to because it's something that is a need in our local community. Creating the smart home and incorporating some of those aspects are definitely an add-on where the state standards were written years ago before smart homes really came into existence. So where maybe the state standard calls for learning how to install a metal door frame, there's nothing on there about the installation or upgrading the technology that would be necessary to run a smart home. So that's an added benefit of this program, is it's able to stay more up to date than, let's say, a state standard that gets rewritten every 7 years.
Our role in the Casa Uber-Alice is to provide the network and the automation. If you say, hey Google, movie time, this house can literally turn the lights down, turn the fan on whatever setting, turn the TV on whatever setting you program it to have, turn the mood lighting on, set it to the right level, and turn the Sonos system on and start the movie for you. Essentially what we're doing is teaching kids about technology. They already know about, well, they're learning about all of the construction end of it, but a house has to have, lighting, and now the houses of today are going to have connectivity and network.
We start at the beginning of school and we end at the end of school. And so we have a short window to complete this house. Oh, it's always a challenge with time. We have an hour and a half to work on the house. We're dealing with weather. We may not work for 2 weeks straight, depending on if it's raining or not.
A lot of times in schools, we look at problems and use those as an excuse to not move forward, and we're not always solution focused. Where I think if you look at this program, if you see an issue with how it is, instead of saying, no, we can't incorporate this program, we won't be able to do that in our district because this doesn't work. I think districts need to understand that there's flexibility with this program, and there are always solutions to problems. You just have to be willing to take the time to sit down and generate those solutions.
I'm planning on building a climbing wall in the near future, so this will really help with that.
I can eventually build my own house one day, and my parents have always talked about building a cabin at our ranch, and doing that would be something pretty cool to do for them.
There's a lot of different projects at our house we want to do.
I've seen students who really are dedicated to wanting to work on the project.
I've always enjoyed using my hands, and so it really gave me an opportunity to be able to step back and say, I made something.
It gives our students a sense of accomplishment for using their own hands and working hard, and in one school year's time being able to see something go from non-existent to finished product.
In the past, it's been pretty much if your family was not in the industry, you didn't get many just startups that want to try. So this is a great opportunity, a great base for them to do it, and they don't have to go out of town. They don't have to go to a big city trade school. They're learning it in their 4 years here at the high school.
If you want to have the option to continue in the field, it's a great place to start because there's a need in the industry and people are willing to hire young people.
If you enjoy working with your hands and you want to work hard, do it.
If you want to start a program like this school, I'd get with your school board, get with your building teacher, and just kind of get their feedback on it. They're looking for ways to make this happen. They realize there's a shortage in the trade. You know, if our dream would come true in 5 years, we'd have this spread all across the country. We'd have kids in every state relearning the trades, having pride in the trades, having pride in blue-collar work. That's what we're looking for.
Seeing the kids when they, at the end of the project, you see the self-satisfaction when they step back and look back and say, I built this. And then you get to look back and say, I helped them achieve this. And this isn't something that a lot of kids are able to do. We're selling a house that's worth over $100,000 that school-age kids built with their hands, with our guidance, but they did 95% of this work. And them to step back and see that self-respect that it gave them to be able to do that, that's rewarding for us.
All right, that's us. Howdy. Good job. Welcome, everybody. Thank you again, Hotchkiss, for sponsoring, and thank you, Sloan, and everybody at TAB for putting on this webinar. We miss seeing everybody at Sunbelt this summer, but we hope that you can take something away from this webinar. We're going to do a really quick PowerPoint. I think there's only 12 slides, just to give you a general overview on how to start this program, but we really want to hear some Q&A from you guys, so start firing up your questions and put them on the chats, and we'll get to those as soon as we roll through this PowerPoint. So Sloan, we're ready to go. All right, so just keep in mind, we're really proud of what we've accomplished in 4 years, but we're still learning a whole lot. I mean, every year still is trial and error, and it took pretty much our first 2 years to find out that if we didn't have a house mover, we could build all the houses we want, but then we would be stuck with a house on campus and we wouldn't have room for the next house. So if this is a program you're thinking about starting, you need to figure out how to move the end product. It's very important.
And also how to sell it.
Yep. Okay, next slide. I might have to put my glasses on. Okay. So obviously, your ISD is your biggest partner in this. You know, every ISD is going to be different. Every community is going to be different. We kind of started our program through our contacts with the board and the superintendent, really before we went to the school and talked to the principal or the high school trades teacher. It may be totally different in your area, but you got to start with the school folks, obviously. And you need to keep in mind, which was rolling through the video that our counselor Logan was talking about, these kids still have to get credit for the time they're spending in this class. So make sure that when you're talking to your school district that you've got a program where they can get your credits for school. And obviously, everybody at TAB, especially Rain, through the Texas Builders Foundation, has been such a tremendous help on helping with the financial vehicle through this. So we are able to, use the TBF as a 501c3. So any donations that are cash that come to us, people do obviously appreciate the tax deductible letter. As far as your local HBA and, the build team, you got to put together a team, and we operate ours just like a regular job site, a regular business. We have a project manager, we have a superintendent, and then we divide up all of the work amongst the build team based upon everybody's strengths. So for instance, Richard works on appliances and framing, where I work on some of the finished trades. So we take everything like a normal build and divide it up so one person's not trying to handle everything.
Real important that you get a job superintendent, though, so that you do have somebody in charge.
Okay. Next. All right, as y'all saw in the video, and Seth Crane, our general manager with our local Builders First Source, talked about this often. Just talk to your local lumberyard and have them run this up the chain, because our mantra year after year, no matter where we're speaking, if it's at IBS or Sunbelt or just to our local Rotary Club, the future of our industry hinges on us teaching the next generation. And you can go tell a supplier with Sierra Pacific Windows or Delta Faucets that if they don't step up and help us help train the next generation, then they're going to be out of a job just as much as builders are going to be out of the job.
And all these companies have really been gracious in their gifts and time and sending trades over from the local guys all the way up to the national guys. All you got to do is ask and tell them what you're doing, and they're going to jump right in there.
Yeah, and obviously you got to make sure that your building trades teacher or your shop, however your ISD is set up, has plenty of the just basic tools and equipment. And I can guarantee you your local lumber yard or your building supply house is going to be willing to donate just your easy tools like your hand tools and your hand power tools.
Well, and our local Rotary stepped up too and bought a lot of the tools for us.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Raising money. We're not much on golf here in the Hill Country, so we came up with some skeet shoots and bowling tournaments, but just figure out what works for your area. But you're going to need $15,000, $20,000 to get started. That's about all we had. We took some money out of our pockets and made this work. But now we've got a nice endowment there with the Texas Builders Foundation. And we've actually helped some other schools get started. We partially funded Comfort when they got their program going, and they're on their third house.
Yeah, that $15,000 to $25,000. I mean, that's going to be key just for basically, and especially now with the price of lumber, but just to get your framing package set on the ground and get framed up and dried in. At that point in time, that's when you're really going back to hitting up all of your suppliers for all of your finished materials. And of course, asking your local subcontractors to pitch in as well. I mean, there's certainly on a 14 by 40 house, there's certainly subcontractors who have leftover wire or may have leftover tin for a roof or just enough supplies to outfit one of the rooms of the house.
Yeah, or a brand new air conditioning unit. So,
right.
Don't be afraid to ask.
Okay. Yeah, and then, yeah, just continuing that conversation, it's important as you're talking to your building trades teacher. Obviously, if this is a house that's going to be sold or donated, and obviously we're building the code, the certified plumbers, electricians, HVAC have to do that work. And depending on how your shop or your building trades area is set up, you may not be able to get students on the roof because you may not be able to get them tied off. So it is important early in this program when you get started to make sure that you've got those critical subcontractors already lined up so you don't have to come into a dead-end halt stop while you're waiting to find one of those.
The other thing that's happened with us, subcontractors have come on board and actually participated daily. We've had Granite, Matthew Schumann and Jennifer, they participate. Nextstream, they've been great they actually produce the video for us. So don't just think it's just builders. Get everybody involved in your association. We had a local architect that volunteered to do our plans for us, and that's worked out real well. We hope to eventually get that into the school where the school kids are actually designing next year's build. But probably a lot of you guys and ladies out there do design builds, so whatever works best for you.
Yeah, just pay attention to your really quick on the size. Obviously, you need to pay attention to width if you're moving this thing down the highway, and length on the trailer, depending on if you've got somebody local to do it. And one thing we learned in our first 2 years is if you start building the house at the beginning of the school year, you finish at the end of the school year, you want to move it over the summer. House movers are busiest in the summer because they are actually working for ISDs, moving temporary trailers or temporary classrooms. So they really don't have time to move things like this. So you need to get really planned and on board with a house mover early in the spring and let them know what your plan is. But keep it small to start with.
The other thing we learned is this 14 by 40 doesn't necessarily meet city codes for minimum square footage requirements. So the last house that we built, the one we're on now, we actually designed it to accept the second bedroom. And that made it a lot more marketable down the road. And the client that bought it is actually doing the second bedroom. So it will become a 2-bedroom house. So keep your options open, but build what will go down the road.
All right. Yeah, very important. You got to be able to move it after you build it, but you got to have the money to build it and keep it sustainable. I think it's important, obviously, to kind of rotate through who you're asking as far as subcontractors and suppliers, and we've done that ourselves. You know, the first 2 years, we relied on pretty much the same team, all the way from the architect to the roofer to the plumbers, the electricians. And then in year 3, we started moving it around. So you don't wear out a subcontractor or supplier. Now, having said that, there are some suppliers who pretty much have said, sign me up. I want to do it every single year because it means a lot to our company and our manufacturer representatives. And once again, going back to your lumber yard, see, we're in a very rural market. So when we go to Seth at Builders First Source, he can talk to dozens and dozens of suppliers because we're not in a big metropolitan area where we can go out to those manufacturers' reps individually.
Well, and don't be afraid to walk up to people at IBS or, you know, any of the big shows, because they're all more than willing to hear about this and help us too.
And I guess one last thing, again, going back to Texas Builders Foundation, that's a conversation. If you want to start a program like this, get with Lorraine and talk about setting up your vehicle to fund this. Okay? That's exactly what I was getting at. Yep, there you go.
And one thing we did different this year in the sale is we did have our buyer buy it, but they also made a donation and they were able to write that part off. So if y'all are interested in learning more about that, get a hold of Todd or I.
Yeah, so back to school, correct. Okay, so this is, the PowerPoint kind of takes you from beginning to end so that you don't lose focus because obviously as builders in the Builder Association, we're real focused on trying to keep the program going. But the program also depends on making sure that the students are learning the critical skills that they have to in order to get the credits. Other than that, then it's just an elective. And that's not what we're trying to do. We're really trying to educate kids so that when they're seniors, they can decide, do they want to go to maybe a 2-year trade school, or do they want to enter the workforce directly and work for one of us? But we certainly want them to be able to graduate from high school. So make sure they're getting their credits. And here in Texas, that's known as the TEKS. And this one, you could just repeat and repeat and repeat over and over again. Again, kind of going back to what I was saying, you're gonna, in our town, we could definitely wear out some people by going to them every year. So the more you can broaden your horizons with different folks, the better. Yeah, so we have a Facebook page, we have a website, so you can actually type a message to one of us. It will come to either me or Richard. We can answer a real simple question. We actually had someone email yesterday from Cincinnati, Ohio. They want to plan on coming down here hopefully before Christmas, and they want to start a program like this at their prep academy. And now we want to hear a lot of questions. We want to answer lots of questions and help builders across Texas get a program like this started in their ISD. Chat. All right, so let's see, we'll go down chat. All right, Brett Hull, and he's a gentleman from Cincinnati I was talking about. He asked, I don't know if everybody can see this, so I apologize if I'm reading what you can see. What percentage of kids that go through the program end up working in the trades? That's the first question. And what are your annual costs for each house?
So probably half of the kids end up working in the trades. The kids have changed their majors in college too, and also picked up construction science and architecture that they didn't really have any interest in those fields before. So we're reaching a good percentage of the kids. Our annual cost, our house is valued at between $105,000 and $130,000 the last couple of years. And we're ended up with about $30,000 in them. We're selling them for 65 to 75. So the delta is pretty good. But it's because of all the partners that we have that we can make this work. There isn't any taxpayer money going into our project. It's all privately funded through the Builders Association.
Yeah, we finish every year somewhere between 75 and 80% donated cost of the house.
All right, next question.
Okay, ICC high school training can be incorporated in the program so that the students are learning IRC along with the skills. Okay, we're going to get in touch with this person. All right. Okay, someone wants some help in DFW, just let us know. And we can also work, and that's a great thing through TAB, we can work with the Dallas Builders Associations and Phil Crone up there and help get into the ISDs and talk to whether we're talking to superintendents, assistant superintendents, or principals.
Yeah. Like I said, we got the program started in Comfort. We're there on their third project. We have a couple from Atlanta over there that came over, and they're getting a program started out there. So this is why we're here, guys. We're here to help y'all get going. We want to see this go state and nationwide.
Okay, another comment or question about ICC and IRC. So you're talking about Appendix Q for the 2018 IRC for tiny homes of 400 square feet or less. So yeah, we're aware of that. However, ours average around 600 square foot. And we're putting them all on piers. And as Richard mentioned earlier, we're now incorporating a design where we can pull out a window and add another 150 square feet to get to the minimum which is required in the city of Fredericksburg. And then another question about our local building officials and have them coming out and talk. We've reached out, but none of them have visited our school project.
The first year we did permit our house, but now we're doing independent inspection on it.
Yeah, third party. Yeah. Okay, and then a question about HBI. Yes, that's an excellent. Is this recognized by TEA or is it in the process? It is in the process. We have been sending a lot of our information, I would say kind of quarterly up to HBI so that they can see you know, how we're progressing each year. I would have to reach out back to either a school board member here locally or our CTE counselor and see where HBI is coming in Texas.
So next question is, how many students a year?
Our first year was almost 40.
Right, but if you count freshmen, sophomores, we're affecting over 100 students a year.
Yeah. Our build time, as you may have heard in the slide, in the video, we only have 90 minutes every day to work on this house with our class. Although we're touching the other class periods that are in the shop every day. The class numbers fluctuate based upon their endorsement. So an endorsement is kind of like your track. You can be on a STEM endorsement, or you can be on a business endorsement, or I'm probably going to get some of this wrong, English endorsement. So if they choose an endorsement where building trades is in their program of curriculum, then we're going to see them probably come somewhere through the shop, whether it's in the 4 classes that our shop offers.
One real neat thing that's happened is we're starting to see kids that had it their first 3 years coming back and doing practicum. So they actually become like junior superintendents on the job, which is really what we're striving for, is the kids teaching the kids. Really cool deal.
Yeah, so we've broken up our builder team into 2 guys go 4 days a week. So we have 8 builders that actually go to the school on a rotating basis every day for 90 minutes. And then that way we're able to obviously help the teacher by breaking up the class, and we're having more one-on-one interaction with the students. And we've been doing that every day, 5 days a week, unless it's raining, for now 4 school years.
5 school years.
We're in our 5th school
We're in our 5th year.
Yeah.
So we have a question about off-premises. When I was in school and we had the trades program, we were off-premises. We built a full house off school campus. That's not allowed anymore. If nothing else, just a time restraint. So that's why we brought the project to the campus. We're actually set up right next door to the trades building and build the house in the parking lot on blocks.
Okay, question about ISDs and dual credit or articulation. We do not have anything like that here in Central Texas, but I will say part of our work, Richard and I's work with this program, is now that we feel like we've got it established really well, is not only extending it to other ISDs, but maybe taking it to the next level. And we do have Central Texas College here in Fredericksburg, and we're actually trying to start an electrician course.
I have a question from Rhett about opportunity. He says they have the opportunity to do a half-day class instead of a 90-minute. Boy, the more time you can get with these kids, the better, for sure. The 90 minutes, you're spending 10 minutes getting out tools and 10 minutes picking up. And we just got a generous donation from Mickey Dunn. We're gonna actually buy a big rolling work box so we can put the tools in there, and hopefully that'll save us some time. Have it completely outfitted like you would a job site. But the more time you get, the better. Because it's a push, and there's sometimes the elves have to come in on the weekends to kind of get things caught up. One thing we didn't talk about was the schedule, and Ben's put together a great schedule for us this year. We kind of learned that like any of our own jobs, we need to schedule them, and that's something we've had to develop over time.
Another question about courses offered at our campus: HVAC, plumbing, electrical. Do we have multiple teachers? So right now we have construction 1, principles of construction, right, which is intro, construction 1, construction 2, which is the Casa Uberalis build team, and then the practicum, which Richard was talking about, where they can either leave campus and go to work for a builder, or they can be kind of like assistant superintendents. And then we have cabinetry.
Yeah, and we have welding, and
then we have ag mechs. So we have
auto mechanics, and we have the rocket class.
But as mentioned before, we're trying to start an electrician's course at our local Central Texas College Community College. Anybody else? We've run through all the questions. So I don't know how many folks are on here that I regularly run into at TAB board meetings, but I know I've had lots of conversations with people all over the state who are interested in starting a program like this at their ISD. Richard and I are totally willing to hop in the truck, drive up there, talk to your superintendent or your CTE counselor, your principal, whoever it needs to be. Maybe it's a presentation in front of your school board. We'd be happy to do it. We'd also be more than happy to have y'all come down here, spend an entire day. You can see how our program works. You can actually see the kids in action.
Yeah, like Todd said, we're glad to come. When I spoke at Comfort, I spoke in one school board meeting, and that school board approved the project that day, and they were up and rolling within 30 days. So a lot of interest in this, and especially when you get to the school board and with funding the way it is, and you tell them you can self-fund a program, that really gets their attention.
So we got a question from Rhett about leaving campus. Where did that go? I don't know if there's keeps popping up. Leaving campus being illegal. No.
Not illegal, but it's just really more of the time restraint.
Yeah, it's basically with the time restraint, the amount of actually hands-on work that they would have on a build site really wouldn't then give them the credits that Logan was talking about during the video. So again, that's kind of one thing that you have to balance. We want to restore pride in the trades. We want to help young kids see the value of building a house, but they're still, number one, they're in school to get credits, hopefully to graduate from college, but then hopefully to move into the building industry.
And I'd say it's real important too that you build a diverse team. I'm an old bag builder, grew up in the trades, and we have guys like Todd that are more familiar with the paper side of it. But together we make a good team, because Todd deals with all the stuff at TAB and gets the computer going, but I can cut a rafter. So I think it's important that you figure out what works, but diversity in this case has really been our strong point, and getting people in the community involved too in different sectors. Like I say, one of the subcontractors comes in and he's got a good building background, so he's a granite guy, but he helps the kids with the framing and everything else.
Yeah, and then we have another comment from Kelly at International Code Council, and yes, I will give you a call. I took a picture of your message here, so I'll give you a holler. Thank you very much for your interest in helping us out. We're doing great on time. 10 minutes left. Any more questions?
Todd, do you want to tell them a little bit about the paperwork we have to fill out for the school?
Yes, again, every ISD is different, but we work with our first superintendent, who's now in Hayes County, and the principal, and we figured out the best way for us to interact with the students, come to campus every single day, is we actually register almost as substitute teachers. Yeah. So when we are volunteering on campus as mentors, and we're actually helping the teacher teach a curriculum, then we are extended the same liability protections as a substitute teacher or a teacher. That's very helpful. Colby Duke with Hotchkiss, who introduced us, Hotchkiss has been providing us a builder's risk policy for the build since day one. So the ISD here local is in a very good shape. They don't have to worry about the money for the materials, buying and procuring it, bidding it out. We buy the materials, we deliver the materials, we teach the kids as teachers or substitute teachers to build the house. We insure the house against any liability, property liability, and then we're insured, or we're extended coverage from the ISD as teachers, just in case we get hurt or maybe a student gets hurt that's under our watch.
One thing you really do have to plan for, though, is how you're going to market the house and eventually sell it at the end, because that's kind of been one thing. It's not like a regular auction where you can get some people that are interested in helping you out, and they buy a painting or a pocket knife or a shotgun, they stick it in the closet. You got to figure out where your market is for this house, and everybody's going to figure out something different. The auction has worked for us. This year we pre-sold, but we've had the second year at the auction, we didn't have any buyers there. Luckily, one of the local ladies stepped up and gave us a good price for it. But there was about 10 minutes there where we thought, oh no, we're sunk. And there was builders holding up their hands for $20,000 or $30,000 just to try to help out. But figure out early what you're going to do with the product. The Vice Farm too is something else that they'll have to fill out to be on campus.
Yeah, you want to talk to your I think that's a conversation you have with the high school principal about registering as a volunteer or a substitute teacher, so you're extended a little bit of liability coverage from the ISD, because you literally are teaching the students.
Any more questions? We're also very proud of this project. We've won 2 national awards, the BALA, the Best American Living Awards, and so far every project we've entered with the Texas Association of Builders Star Awards, we've won there too. So that's been a real honor for these kids. I had a conversation with the superintendent the other day because I'm on a bond hearing committee, and he got up and announced that the football team had won by district, which means they came in 2nd out of 4, and failed to announce that these kids even won state, much less national awards. So we've got to make our educators aware of what we're doing and really restore pride in the trades, because it's been overlooked, and that's what we're trying to do.
That's a good question, Tamara. Thank you. Her question: do you have a favorite moment on a build with a student?
I think we all do.
Yes.
I think mine goes back. We had 4 kids that were working together, and they were, I called them the soccer kids because they all played soccer, but one of them was just disruptive as heck, and I kept telling the teacher, we need to get this kid out of here. And he's like, no, you can't get rid of a kid. It's an elective. And went to the superintendent backed us up, and we got him out. And a couple days later, I was running siding up on the gable end with those kids, and I was just sitting on the ground watching. And instead of telling them it's a 3-on-12 pitch, I explained to them, I said, measure over 12 inches, measure up 3 inches, run you a line across there, and it'll fit that break on the gable. And they're like, really? And anyhow, they did it, and we were working along and with these 2 kids, and the bell rang, and they asked me, said, will you stay late today? I said, sure. So at 5:30 that day, we finished, and one of them hands me his phone, and he said, take our picture. And at that moment in time, you know that you changed that kid's life. I mean, just so rewarding. You can't beat those stories like that, things that happen that you're just not expecting.
Yeah, my favorite, I'll never forget. We've only had 1 female come through the class. Kara, she was fantastic, and in fact, she ended up going to TSTC and was taking construction management. Anyway, it was our first build. We were just probably halfway through framing. It's the first time we've ever done this project, and I thought there were like 10 kids asking me all a question at the same time, so I couldn't focus. So I was cutting a header for the closet, and I totally miscut it, and Kara looked at me and was like, duh, like, what were you thinking? And I'll never forget that. Yeah, she was great.
No, we had some amazing kids. I have one former student working for me now, and I know a lot of the other guys do too. So that's another thing about being involved. You can kind of develop these kids and figure out which ones are going to work, and then eventually end up hiring them. I know Seth at the lumberyard has one of the students from last year working, like you said. He's working at the lumberyard, but he already has a basic knowledge of all the products and materials that are used.
So this is a good question. How did you sell it to the students to get them to take the courses? Well, they really don't have an option if that's their track or their endorsement. They're eventually going to go from principals to construction 1 to construction 2. Having said that, I'll have 2 different answers. One, right now, students who come to campus at the beginning of the year, if they're somewhat interested in trades or just CTE in general, maybe it's welding, whether it's auto mechanics, they they love Casa Rurales.
Right.
They're really pumped about seeing that house go up every year and then get sold off and hauled off. So there is some excitement at our ISD. If they're on that track, they're naturally going to migrate to it. Now, having said that, if we really, really want to keep and push students through our CTE building trades track, we actually need to be starting at the middle school.
Right.
And telling them, hey, when you get to the high school in 9th grade, you want to sign up for this track so you get on the course and you end up on the build team. And that's something that, you know, we're just in year 5. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah. And we have cut our class down size-wise some. So it's a bit of a vetting process now too, because we have some kids that want in that just aren't going to make it. And so they don't actually get into class. Really neat story. We have a Russian kid this year that speaks no English, so, but he's doing great. He can tape and he uses all the tools, so that's exciting.
All right, I think if there's one more, we'll answer it, and then hopefully I'll see some of you guys in Austin in November at our board meetings. Y'all come see us in Fredericksburg or give us a holler if you want us to come to your ISD.
We're on Facebook and we have the webpage too.
All right, Warren. So yeah, Sloan, if you'll put up that, I guess it's the last slide or second to last slide, or maybe you can post it on the website. Here goes Sloan.
There you go. All righty, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd and Richard. And we'd like to also thank Hotchkiss Insurance Group one last time for helping us bring this program to you. So this will be available on our YouTube channel if anybody wants to share it with anyone else, or if they missed a portion that they wanted to go back and rewatch. Thank you, Todd and Richard.
Thank you, Sloan. We appreciate it very much.
See y'all later.